Welcome to Americana Archives. Today's headline is the fatal Kent feud, startling result of an Illinois quarrel. The subheadline says, a reminder of the days of the border feuds waged in the far west. It says, Illinois, the state of startling surprises in the shape of alkyldism and tannerism, seems to be stepping backward and trying to emulate the old border feuds which raged within, comparatively speaking, a short space of time in West Virginia and Old Kentucky. For almost a year, dating from the death of their father, Parent Kent, last March, a bitter feud has existed between Noble and William Kent, living near Girard. They were the only children of Mr. and Mrs. Kent, who lived on a farm between Girard and Verdun. Noble, the elder, was 35 and married shortly after attaining his majority, while Will, the younger, is 24 and unmarried. The former was shiftless and erratic, and from time to time received large sums of money from his parents, which amounted to more than his share in the father's estate of $15,000. The latter was steady, industrious, reliable, and enjoyed the confidence of all the citizens. When the father died and his will was probated, it was discovered that the entire estate was left to the widow for life, with remainder to his son Will, and if he should die without issue, the estate was to be used as a fund for the benefit of the Verdun High School library. Noble was highly incensed, vindictive, and desperate, and swore an oath on his father's grave that he would kill his brother William, whom he blamed for the father disinheriting him. Shortly after this, William was shot in the base of the brain while sitting at supper, with his mother and a hired man in the kitchen. He hovered between life and death for months, and was but a wreck of his former self. Noble made good his escape. He could not be found for a long time. A reward of $250 was offered for his arrest. He was traced to St. Louis, St. Joseph, Missouri, and Topeka, Kansas, at which place he was apprehended, but escaped while Sheriff Davenport of Illinois was en route to bring him back. Shortly afterward, he appeared at the old homestead and offered to make peace with his brother, going so far as to offer him his revolver. The brother mistrusted him, however, and almost frightened to death, retreated into the house and warned his mother. In the meantime, Noble escaped, not without killing a large mastiff chained in the yard. He was pursued by an armed sheriff's posse, and in order to escape them, he boarded a baggage car at the Chicago and Alton, and was captured at Springfield by the authorities, who had been warned and were waiting for him. The authorities at Springfield refused to give him up without receiving the reward, and William tried in every possible way to secure it, but his mother would not let him have the money. Finally, however, he prevailed upon her to mortgage the family home for $1,500, and in this manner obtained the necessary money. In the meantime, Noble was held by Springfield authorities on petty charges until the money was forthcoming. Sheriff Davenport of Macoupin County went to Springfield to bring the prisoner back, and on the evening of December 3rd, boarded the train at Springfield with his captive, and at the same time, unknown to the two men, the brother Will also swung on board as the train pulled out. The train reached Girard an hour later, and as it pulled into the station, William left his seat in the rear of the train and walked slowly into the smoker, taking the officer and his brother completely by surprise. The sudden appearance of this totally unexpected visitor startled the prisoner, and he grew slightly pale. Under cover of his coat pockets, each hand grasped an ugly revolver. Almost before the sheriff knew who was standing alongside of him, he found himself looking into the dark and menacing barrel of a revolver, while with the other hand, the brother had covered the prisoner. Now the elder brother's cheek turned an ashen color, and in a trembling voice he gasped, "For God's sake, don't shoot! For God's sake, Will, don't shoot!" The sheriff, almost as frightened as the prisoner, also stammered, don't, for God's sake." "You keep still," sternly ordered the young man, addressing the sheriff, then directing his attention to his brother, "and as for you," 6 reports from his revolver told what he had to say. Noble reeled in his seat at the first shot, and before the last one rang out, had fallen an inert, limp mass of quivering clay to the floor, with 3 gaping wounds in his head, from which rivulets of blood gushed down his forehead and onto the floor, forming a pool in which the wounded man fell and died almost instantly. The terrified sheriff was so close to Noble that the powder from the flashes of the discharges burnt his clothes, and before he could recover the power of speech and give the alarm or offer the slightest protection to Noble, Will had quickly stepped down off the train and fled in the gathering darkness. The officer quickly organized a posse, who thoroughly scoured the country without finding a trace of the missing man. The neighbors believed that Will's fear that Noble would take his life, combined with the reluctance on the part of his mother to prosecute her son, and the shattered condition of his nerves from the wound given him by Noble in March, caused him to decide to take the law into his own hands and settle once and for all the possibility of Noble making another attempt on his life, should the law prove unavailing to hold the criminal in its clutches. This story came from the great state of Pennsylvania, being reported in the Philadelphia Times of December 18th, 1898. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.